Hey guys, hope you guys are having a great weekend. Wanted to take the opportunity to kind of talk a little bit about how January has been. I won't go into too much because I don't want to bore you with too much of the details. So I'll try to just post more often and speak on different topics. But there are four things I really wanted to go over today. I wanted to talk about my trade review on my 150K starter account that I've been talking about a lot over IG for the past few weeks. It's only been about 3 weeks, but I am well on my way to my third payout on the account, and I want to talk about that, especially since the stats have been amazing. I want to talk a little bit about, my fund and futures and like the challenges that I personally like and recommend. I want to go a little bit over journaling over the Traderstat, and then talking a little bit about more about the Asia session because a lot of people keep asking me about it. So I wanted to touch on that. So first and foremost, I'm going to go over my, the trade stats here with my fund and futures. I'm going to blow this up a little bit because I think it's probably very small on your end. Let's do that. So you can kind of tell here that I started off using this 150K starter account on the 14th of January, so just halfway through the month. And since then, I honestly haven't had a losing day, which is a great feeling. Obviously, there are days where you're going to have some tough trades and what have you, but overall, I'm very happy with how I've performed with this. Understand that just getting here is not an overnight thing. I have about 3 years of experience in the market. It's only 5 months in the futures market, but overall, the charts are charts. I think just how to read a chart, how to manage emotions, risk management, all that. It's all the same in the end of the day. Just understanding the how each asset class moves and how the rules work and all that. That's really the only difference. But all in all, I've had some, bigger days, like the $3,000 days, $2,000 days, $2,300 days, right? But otherwise, I'm, going for those, I won't call them base hits, but like smaller size, about $400, $400, $400, $600, right? All in all, though, right? Like even though you can have some, losing days or losing trades, I should say, there are ways to turn things around, obviously, with patience and working with the right setups, right? And you can kind of see the stats here already, right? Like this account, it is quite mind blowing to see this because my stats were not like this. If you were talking just 2 months ago, they weren't even this strong, right? So to have an 88% win rate with a 7%, 7.5 profit factor is obviously a humbling. Um, but a big part of actually this account that I will touch on is actually most of these trades were done over the Asia session. So that's the reason why I will touch on that a little bit more later on. Again, don't get me wrong, I have traded the New York session and the London session with this account, sorry. But I did primarily trade the Asia session with this one. And so, again, I mentioned this a lot, and I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm regurgitating, but I don't like to copy trade too much. I do individually trade each account. I think some people who have messaged me have told me that they've found success early on in the past week just trying that as well. I do think trading individual accounts are helpful because it gives you chart time, it gives you practice and experience without the emotional tilt of taking 6, 10 trades off one account, right? So if you have one, account with like three prop firms, that's three accounts, right? So you can technically abide by the two trade rule with each account and make 6 trades in a day, and not have the emotional tilt of blowing an account, right? So again, that's just my 2 cents. Maybe not the popular one. Some people probably would be like, why not just go Apex, get 20 accounts and just, copy trade? Again, not my cup of tea. To each their own, but I think overall, that's kind of where that's been. So I'll talk a little bit about the Asia session near the tail end of the video, but I just want to kind of touch on this. Now, also talk about challenges. People have been asking me about that, right? Like, I definitely recommend the starter 50K. Nothing wrong with this. If you are a junior just starting up in futures and you've never done traded this asset class before, start still trying to learn the mechanics. First and foremost, Google, ChatGPT. There's a lot of things there that will tell you about what futures is. So if you've never traded futures before and you're coming from options like myself, there's a lot to learn there. Shout out to my brother Donnie there. He provided me a lot of the onboarding at first because I was very foreign to futures trading. Again, I've only started futures as of August, right? And so between August and November, I had a lot of torrential learning curves, right? Blowing a lot of accounts, right? But December onwards for the past 2 months has been very consistent for me, and I'm very thankful for that. And in all my experiences, and I'm not joking when I say this, I have literally tried almost every single account with MMFU, Tradeify, um, uh, Fund of Futures Family, and many more. I've tried all of their accounts, and I know it sounds like a degenerate when I say it that way, but that's the honest truth. I was cycling through so many accounts between August and November. So for those who are out there who are struggling, You're not alone. I've been there. I get it. But of course, it requires you to be disciplined enough and to put a stop to the degeneracy and all that, right? I will cough all of that experience up to market tuition. And obviously, I feel like I'm in a better place now, right? So, anyways, digressing back and looking at this again, right? Like I recommend the 50K starter. It's $97 a month USD. I think this is the risk ratio to passing is the easiest, your profit target's 3K and your drawdown's like 2.5. And so again, when you start off, right, that's just the easiest way to go about it to get what you need for the account and pass. It's when you get funded is when there's a little bit more stricter rules, right? So you have daily drawdowns of 1.2K, 40% consistency rule. And I know people hate this stuff, but like honestly, the wax on, wax off of learning the discipline of being okay to get a piece of the pie is what really makes this account special and encouraging to me. So I still have my 50K account um, dating back from November, actually. I'm still trading it because, yeah, I'm not even close to blowing that account up. So, I think that this is a great starting point at a great price. And it gets you payouts at an early stage, right? So if you can maintain that and hit your profit targets, every 5 days you can get paid, right? So that's pretty solid. And the max payout is about $1,200, which again, for many out there, man, I mean, to make $1,200 even once a month on the side is huge money, right? But if you can make that 4 times a month, which in the 4 weeks of a month, right? Like that's $4,800. Like that's a lot of money, right? So again, I think don't get too caught up in what social media and all that tells you about like hitting those 10K days, 30K days, six-figure days. Like in time, in due time, right? Like you have 5, 10, 20, some, years ahead, and the market will still be here, right? So take it slow. And I think this is what's going to progressively give you what you need. And I'll talk about psychology and mindset and all that stuff at another time, but I definitely recommend this account as a starter. From here, it depends on how quick you want to jump into it. The expert accounts are honestly the most you know, flexible accounts that you can use out there. And I say that because there's like pretty much no rules. Yes, it's kind of tough that you have 14 days before you get your first payout and subsequent payouts, but that's also part of the discipline game, right? And I always look at it as whenever prop firms create these rules, they create these rules because they're trying to groom their live traders. And so if these rules exist, it's because they want their live traders to operate this way as well, right? So again, if you're in here just trying to make a big buck and move on to the next prop firm, you might have a different mindset. But if you're here to go live one day and actually use prop firm capital, then abiding by these rules, don't treat it as handcuffs, treat it as systems and processes for learning how to be a trader for the specific prop firm, right? So if you go and research and Google prop firms, you'll understand the history of where it all began and how it's different for retail traders now than compared to what it was for institutional. Anyways, I won't go into too much of that, but that's essentially what this is. The Starter Plus is one of their newer accounts. Well, I would say they brought it back again, right? It's a nice hybrid, right? It's a nice hybrid between starter and expert because at first it's a 2 day pass. You need a consistency of 50% as a 2 day pass in order to get your evaluation passed. However, though, once you get funded, though, there's pretty much no rules. So that's kind of cool as well, right? And so yes, there's the maximum contracts isn't as high as the expert because the expert you can use 3 cons, but in this one you can use a maximum of 3, which with obviously a scaling rule. But all in all, I think this is a good hybrid as well, and it's obviously half the price of expert as well, right? So just my 2 cents. Again, you can just drop comments below and things like that if you have any questions about my opinions on my funded futures. I've been trading them since August, so I do enjoy using them quite often and quite a bit. So that's that. 2 more things. I'll do one more thing here. Traderstat. So I want to kind of go over that a little bit. You guys have probably been seeing me show this quite often, right? I can't advocate for this trading journal enough. I think the usability as a prop firm trader and all the different things, like right here, I have all the different types of accounts here that I can kind of highlight through, even though I'm only talking about the My Funded Futures one today. But again, similar to what you saw earlier on the prop firm dashboard there, right? But so this essentially, I do this every single week. I hop in here and I will go through each day of my trades and I will look through how those trades went, right? So, for example, I'll click on this day here, and then I'll click on my fund futures right there, right? And so for this day, it shows me that my P&L was $600, 100% win rate. So because barely because I didn't really take a lot of trades here, but if I go through this, it can actually show me here kind of where I took my trades, right? And so I think that's really, really cool the way that you could do that because you could plot your trades here and it can show exactly when you went in and out of those positions, right? And so if you take a look at here, it shows me on this day that I took four trades, right? And some trades are two, one, and three. And now understand that as I'm plotting these, right? It also a trade includes you scaling out of a trade as well, right? So it does sometimes, if you're ever confused why I'm like, hey, I only took one trade, but it shows three trades. It's probably because you trimmed three times. But nevertheless, though, right, this is kind of cool. So this is basically mimicking trading view as well. And so being able to see this in real time really helps because as you can tell in this trade, this was essentially a scalp trade, right? But going back and taking a look at the different time frames when you took those trades, why you took those trades, and really journaling your thoughts beneath here, right? Like I think those are some valuable things. And if honestly, if you're not journaling your trades right now, you are missing out a lot. Like I think that most people who aren't journaling, and I don't want to call you out, but it kind of sounds like you're gambling if you're not journaling your trades, to be honest, at this point, right? So just like a business, right? You got to make sure that you review your trade logs, you got to review your P&Ls, right? Your statements, right? To see what's working, what's not working, and making business decision on those things, right? So um I find this super, super valuable. The dashboard itself is kind of like the home dashboard. It goes over a lot of information there as well that I find super valuable. Go to February, January here, sorry. So the month of January, again, high level, quick, easy. You saw the win rate, same thing, profit factor. We talked about that earlier, right? But you can go into this, right? And it actually talks about things like, your average winning trade, average losing trade, how many win streaks you're on, how many long trades or short trades did you take? How long did you hold those trades for, right? So again, super, super valuable. And last thing that I find really cool, and the developer recently kind of just updated this, but you can actually put your kind of dashboard here. And this is almost kind of like your home page, right? Of like what you're trying to achieve here. Still fairly new, but I think this is very sharp and very cool, especially if you're trying to like, showcase like what your goals are and put your links here for like YouTube, Twitter, and all that type of stuff, right? Or sorry, not Twitter, X. But anyway, so there's a lot of value there added as well. So if you guys are interested in this, I do have the link in the bio as well. You can get a free trial, try it out. If you don't like it, no pressure. You can always just cancel it, right? But I personally, I don't go without this. Like I've been using this training journal for quite some time now, and I love it a lot. The last thing I want to go over here is actually the Asia sessions that I kind of promised I want to talk about here, right? Um, so with this, I actually marked out the Asia session. So one of the things I mentioned in my videos that I posted recently was how in Asia I scalp. I mainly scalp 15 to 20 points. Now there's a reason for that. I want you guys to think about it as if you were to chart analyze the Asia session, majority of the time you don't have a lot of big moves, right? And so now I've highlighted this recent week. One of the things I talked a lot about on Instagram and on YouTube is that this past week's volatility on Asia is not normal, right? And so even though we were having big swings and moves, I have not swayed away from the discipline of how I trade. So I still stuck to my 15 to 20 point scalps, even though we had really, really big moves. And the reason being is because I'm not going to change my discipline just because the market has changed, right? I think that consistently I need to realize that in the Asia session generally, it doesn't move the way that it moved over the past week. And it has a lot to do with Donald Trump taking position and all of that stuff, right? So anyways, I just want to highlight. So just in the past week, these are three different Asia sessions, right? You see 125 points, 182 point, 164 points. So these are some really large swings for an Asia session. It's not common to get these kind of trades and so I can prove myself and what I'm referring to. I would actually going back. So this was actually the inauguration. So or the Sunday, sorry, the Sunday Asia session when Trump took power and all that stuff. And you saw that massive 1,000 points to the downside, right? And so that set off the stage for what became a very volatile week, right? Now, prior to that, though, you could look at the Asia sessions. Earlier, I showed you it was between what is this, 120 to 180 point moves. Usually, the Asia session moves about 89, 77, and 100 points only, right? And so you see that now. It is generally a shorter, a smaller time frame range of moves. So when I'm scalping for 15 to 20 points, if you think about it, I'm already capturing 20% of the overall range move. That's quite a bit already, right? Now, when you look at the bigger sense of pictures, probably not as much, right? So if you're trading Asia and you're trying to capture 60, 90 point moves, you're basically telling yourself you want to capture the top to bottom move. And honestly, that just doesn't seem realistic to me, right? And so understanding that will help shape your trading styles for each trading session as well. And I also want to capture the difference just so that you're not thinking like, oh, well, Tuesday, 2 weeks, Alan, that's not a lot of information there. Using the same week where Asia has been, the usual, 70 points, 100 points, and overall range move. Look at the same week for New York session, right? Like that's a 252 point range, right? Like you already see the dramatic difference. So capturing a 90-point trade over a 252-point range, it makes a lot more sense. It's a lot more easier. I'm not saying it's easier, but it makes a lot more sense, right? So, anyways, I hope that explains a lot. I don't want to bore you guys too much. But again, if you have more questions and comments, feel free to drop a comment down below. Ask me questions. If you want me to, talk about something specific, I'm more than happy to put a video together for that as well. But hopefully that adds value. If you find the information provided valuable, please drop a like, drop a subscribe. I will try to do this as frequent as possible to share my journey as a futures trader, 5 months in and ongoing, about the ups and downs and the things that I'm doing to be consistent and successful as a trader. Anyways, that's everything. Hope you guys have a great day. See you again soon.